Hello everybody, my name is Brooklyn, otherwise known as TheDramaticOtaku, and welcome to the May and June WEEB wrap-up of 2024. Now, you may be wondering if you're new to this channel, what the fuck is the WEEB wrap-up? This is my bi-monthly review series where I review all of the manga and anime that I have watched within the previous 2 months. Now, as always, before we begin with our anime and manga, spoilers ahead for literally every series I talk about. Some of them will be one-shots, some of them will be anthology series, which I was supposed to do a read and review on, and I forgot about that fucking series. I have series that are horror-related, that have lewd imagery, that sort of stuff, so please be aware, as I am reviewing these, that there is some 18 plus content in terms of the stories that I talk about. That being said, let's just jump into it with May anime. I once again didn't watch anime in May. Let me double check, because I can always double check. Yeah, nothing. No anime, but we do have May manga. So, first of all, Viz has its own dedicated app that isn't Shonen Jump. Who was gonna tell me that Viz had its own dedicated app that wasn't Shonen Jump, that had series like shoujo series and horror series, and they had practically the entire Junji Ito collection digitally. It's the exact same format as the Shonen Jump app, but it's shoujo and it's horror and it's other it's other slice of life series. Who was gonna tell me that? Because it's also cheaper than the Shonen Jump subscription. Literally, as I said that, I got an email that said my billing for my Shonen Jump subscription got declined. So I took advantage of the fact that I can read on the Viz Media website as well as app throughout this entire time. And to start off with, I read one of the series that I have been meaning to read from the Junji Ito library that I haven't had for a while, that I've known about probably for the longest time, but because it actually contains one of my triggers for anxiety, I have been avoiding it like the plague. Now, this being Hellstar Remina, which does have the name just Remina. I know in some iterations, or in some regions, it's called Hellstar Remina. I don't know why it's just Remina when I specifically remember there being like physical volumes that said Hellstar Remina at some point, like 3 years ago, but whatever. This is, yes, I did get a physical volume, but I actually read all of Remina on the Viz Media app. This being because if I'm reading it on the app, it doesn't mean I physically have it in my collection, and for some books, if I don't really like the concept and I'm terrified of the concept, I would rather read it and then not buy the physical volume than buying the physical volume and then realizing I fucking hate it and then trying to sell it, because selling secondhand manga is surprisingly difficult. So, clearly, I somewhat liked Remina. Now, for a long time, I purposely did not pick up this book. I am not good with space stuff. It takes me down an existential path that fucks with me greatly. So I have never wanted to purchase it, but when I saw it on Viz, I knew I had to read it, because it is the one story that I have seen for so fucking long, and with the Junji Ito library constantly being added to, it is the oldest book of the entire library that I haven't yet got. It's okay. It plays on the fear of inevitability, the apocalypse, doom planets, interdimensional space creatures, Lovecraftian horrors, parasocial relationships with idols, surprisingly as well. and the vastness of space. The story takes place in an alternate future with flying cars, colonization of Mars and the moon, and a scientist, Oguro, has discovered a new planet from another dimension. One that wanders around space, moving about 16 light years away. Seeing as it came into the universe around the same time as his daughter Remina, he decides to name it after her, which causes the girl to have wild levels of fame and attention that she doesn't really want. But seeing as it's inevitable, she decides to join an idol agency. And you know how I said Remina was a planet that moved around quite a lot? Well, it stopped moving. Or seemed like it. Much like when a tornado appears to stop moving, in reality, it's moving towards you. Remina started moving towards Earth. And Remina is a fast planet moving at essentially light speed, meaning the movement they'd seen from the planet, they were viewing its position 16 years ago, meaning it's currently in the solar system, and it's eating all of the planets in its way, meaning the people of Earth are incredibly panicked as Earth is on the menu. The people of Earth, panicked by this, believe if they sacrifice Remina and her father, Hellstar Remina will leave them be, which leads to a cat and mouse chase which ends with the world being swallowed and the remaining 6 Earthlings floating in a bomb shelter in space. Now, I wasn't hugely a fan of this story. It's very similar to Gyo in the way that it played out, only with a female protagonist and creatures from space rather than a male protagonist and creatures from the ocean. At least in Gyo there was some hope for the future, and that's what I mean by this being about inevitability. The planet was always going to be consumed, it just meant surviving as long as you could to avoid your fate. I will say, with this future being so advanced, I don't understand why they didn't just evacuate the planet. I mean, they did try doing that with the social elite, but then those fuckwits went to land on Remina for some reason. But I guess to make it more tense, they're not that advanced at the time. Personally, this isn't the worst. I was invested. It just felt a little too similar to other stories that Junji Ito has created, as in his horror, Junji Ito does like a good chase. Again, think Gyo. Gyo is the better version of Remina, and it is obviously related to the sea. I will say, I think the one piece of material that reminds me of this so much is the one Future Armor special where Fry gets in a relationship with a tentacle planet, and then the tentacle planet like gets it on with the entire fucking planet of Earth, some fuck off shit like that. Two completely different like auras, very similar plot. If you like the whole like idea of doom planets, Planet X, that sort of stuff, that is what this will sort of scratch your itch for in the Junji Ito universe. Personally, I didn't like it. I thought Sensor was a little more scary and it has a little like similar themes, but I find Remina much more enjoyable. As if you have seen my Junji Ito ranking video, I fucking hate Sensor just because it's wildly uncomfortable, not in a fun way. That triggered me much more than this did, and it makes me sort of reflect and go, why was I so scared to pick this up for so long? This really isn't that bad, and it's making me start to think, am I getting really immune to Junji Ito's art style? Because I used to be really scared and really like haunted by Junji Ito, and now I'm sort of just picking up and going, yep, that's existing. So yeah, personally I gave Remina a 6 out of 10. Not the worst, but not the best. Moving forward, we go on to another Viz Media title that I read pretty much at work. So when at work, I tend to go for one-shot titles just because I won't be super involved with them for too long. and so that I can sort of snap into work if I need to. But so I go for one-shots. And for a random shoujo one-shot, I was pleasantly surprised by Gabakawa. Now this definitely wouldn't have legs as a longer series. Don't fuck with perfection, you know? But as it is, I enjoyed it, and I wouldn't mind getting an actual physical copy of Gabakawa. It's only about 6 chapters long. The story is of a demon girl who went to Earth to become the best demon to try and meet her idol, Akusawa, in order to date him. But she doesn't actually know what he looks like. On her first day at school, she thinks she meets him, but it turns out this is a human named Aku who just happens to have a 6th sense. She falls head over heels for him, which in the end leads to her demise, as demons can't fall in love with humans, and she was antithetical to her nature as a demon. She was supposed to be a menace, and in the end, she just kind of ended up benefiting Aku and saving him with her powers, causing her to lose them. She begins to disappear on her last day. Aku confesses he loves her, she's over the moon, and then promptly evaporates. Only to wake up in her human body after being comatose for several months, Aku right by her side, though her human self doesn't really know who he is. This is unexpectedly so adorable. I was expecting it to be way messier because early 2000s shoujo, and it still is, but it was so much more wholesome than I could have thought. Our protagonist is so goofy, which you all know that I love. I love goofy, messy shoujos, especially from the early 2000s. And the plot is simple yet effective. And I am really of the belief that our protagonist is the girl who was in the coma, and Aku truly saved her from death by loving her so fucking much. And I have this belief because I have been scarred too much by The Host, you know, that movie The Host, and fanfiction that has the same themes as The Host, that I would like to believe this isn't a random girl that's being possessed by a spirit. So I believe that this person is in fact our demon protagonist. I have been scarred one too many times from The Host to think about the implications that this isn't the protagonist's body and that she's inhabiting a random person's body of someone who has passed away. Personal ethical dilemma there feels a bit weird. Overall, I give this story a solid 7.5 to 8 out of 10. It was really nice and is what I look for in early 2000s shoujo manga. Next, moving forward, once again, another Viz title, short and sweet. This one's gay this time, and you will have seen it in my queer manga recommendations for this year. This is The Girl Who Couldn't Get a Girlfriend. This is the autobiographical tale of author Mary Hiranishi. The Girl Who Can't Get a Girlfriend explores living as a woman who loves women and the highs and lows of life when it comes to a breakup, let alone a long-distance breakup with the most amazing woman she has ever met, as well as going through the struggles of a butch woman who wants to date another butch. The way the book ended was so abrupt and personally really funny to me, with our protagonist finally moving on from their ex to a degree, working fully on herself and loving herself and having another woman interested in her. However, when she tries to fit in love finally back into her life, she struggles, which leads to the end of the book. Life taunting her that she can't have everything that she wants, which obviously leaves a lot up in the air as to what happens, and genuinely I don't know if this will be a series or will end up staying a one-shot or not, as this is autobiographical in nature. Either way, I did enjoy it, and seeing into the mangaka's life and her experience as a woman who loves women is really interesting, and I also think that she is very, very funny. This is personally a really good story. I gave it a 7 out of 10. I do like when people talk about their own lives in their stories. And continuing with the theme of gay, I Think Our Son is Gay, Volume 5, this being the last volume of this series. As you would know, I really like this series. It is one of my favorite gay series. So this is obviously the last volume of I Think Our Son is Gay, and I'm disappointed there wasn't actually a confirmation that Hiroki was gay, but there was confirmation that Yuri is asexual. Or at least he's exploring the concept of asexuality. And I swear to God, at some point I called him being ace. I know I suggested that he might be trans at some point. That I no longer believe, obviously, but I swear to God, at some point I clocked him being ace, and I think I mentioned it in a video, and I just, I'm so happy that he is actually queer in this book. I knew it. I fucking knew it. Anyways, this volume comes to a close of the series and explores Hiroki's dad and queer people. And as it turns out, he's not a raging bigot, he's just a dense idiot who is stuck in his heterosexuality. When he realizes that people around him probably perceive him as a raging bigot, he changes up his behaviors and views, and on extension opened up his mind to homosexuality being a normal thing in society. There's a really nice page where a coworker complains about all this LGBT stuff, and him, Hiroki's dad, having learned, talks about how it's good to learn because that's the world we live in. Gay people exist, so we should put in the effort to make them feel safe and comfortable. Also, the absolute fear on the mum's face when she thinks she, like, may have accidentally outed Hiroki was honestly priceless, and I was personally very tense at that time because to a degree I do think she did, but if she can't confirm it, then she's just expressing her perception of her son and worried about how others will perceive him to her husband, which I do kind of understand. And I really do like how, like, at the end when Hiroki does slip up, his mum actually calls it out and says, girlfriend or boyfriend, we'll love you all the same. To be entirely honest, Hiroki's parents do remind me a lot of my mum in that sense. She would be the type of person to do all of those things and has done all of those things in the past. I like that they took the dislikable scapegoat and actually gave him a change of mind and thinking. It was great to see, and I personally really appreciate that. Again, a lot of the characters remind me of my own parents, and it is something that I can connect to this series. I like this series a lot as it hits a lot of talking points on not only someone being in the closet, as well as being openly gay, thinking your parents won't love you if you come out, especially if they say homophobic shit. And it also touches on more queerness than just being gay. I've said this before, but if you are straight and want to know more of an understanding about queerness or how to be an ally, this is definitely a series that I suggest to you 100%, much like how I suggested Is Love the Answer for understanding asexuality. This would be mine for queerness sort of in general as compared to just asexuality, as again, I have been that person who really didn't understand asexuality and have grown to understand it, and that book was a big fucking helper. So personally, that is my recommendation for the entirety of I Think My Son is Gay. It's a very good look into how people's minds change over time and how people can grow into better people. Obviously, that's not always going to be the case. This is very wishful thinking on a lot of parts, but it's also in some ways, like for me personally, it's cathartic. It is also just experiences that I have gone through with my parents as well. So yeah, personally this volume itself gets a 7 out of 10, but overall I would give the series an 8 out of 10. I've really enjoyed it from start to end. I did like the first couple volumes more than the latter couple of volumes, but you can't win them all. That being said, we're gonna move on to our next Junji Ito title for today. Now, I didn't write a review for this. I just wrote a number down, and that was 7 out of 10. That would be because I wasn't a huge fan of the short stories in this book, and I was going to do a read and review for this book, and then I fucking forgot about the series. So, in this, we have 4 stories. We have Weeping Woman Way, Madonna, The Spirit Flow of Aokigahara, and Slumber. Now, I think out of all of them, I would definitely say 7 out of 10 is the accurate rating that I give this book. Out of this, I think Weeping Woman Way and Spirit Flow were my favorites. Spirit Flow was just like weird on a different level. Low-key gay, but Spirit Flow I did kind of like. I think Weeping Woman Way I have actually read before, but was the more like consistent story. It just kind of felt like it was this and then this and then this, one on top of the other over and over again. A lot of the stories felt like that, like it was just a like and then story. Weeping Woman Way and Madonna especially, no. I think the last one, Slumber, probably did that the worst. Slumber had potential, but I think it was executed a little poorly. Weeping Woman Way, I think, was done well. It just went on for too long. Madonna, again, had potential, but I really just don't like when Junji Ito uses religious imagery in his stories. I really didn't like Censor, as I mentioned before, and that has a lot of religious imagery and ties to it. So the same thing with Madonna, I just wasn't a fan. I'm not religious at all, I just don't like the way that Junji Ito uses it for some reason. I don't know why, but yeah. And Spirit Flow was just fucking weird, to be 100% honest, which I don't mind it for that reason. So yeah, that gets a solid 7 out of 10. So I'm gonna put this back here. Hello, Brooklyn from the future here. I was a fucking idiot and didn't write down, I did write down, didn't include in my list this manga, Ultramaniac. This was an unexpected favorite of mine for this month. Ultramaniac is the story of Ayu, a regular human trying to impress her crush, and Nina, a witch from the Magic Kingdom. Nina is a less than stellar witch, and when she trusts Ayu with her secret, she somehow drags Ayu into a world of chaos. The series is a romance series with 2 female protagonists. You know, they fall for the same guy temporarily, and the series follows the 2 as Ayu tries to get with Tetsushi. I think that's meant to say Tetsushi. Who the fuck's Tetsushi? Nina wants her Ayu dear to be happy, and to be happy while keeping her identity secret, all while the magic world keeps coming to Earth to find Nina. I really like this series a lot, surprisingly. I thought it would end up a little bit messy due to them both falling for Tetsushi, but when Hiroki figures out Nina is a witch, that plot point evaporates into thin air, which was a little jarring. Personally, the story was very eventful for a high school romance, but underwhelming for a fantasy, if that makes sense. The witch side was there, but surprising, and the high school side was very eventful. By no means is this like actually fantasy, but the fantasy elements it used really added to the high school drama of it all, and I appreciate that a lot. I also love the friendship of Nina and Ayu. For a bit I did think it was queer, but generally after the series I don't think that is the case. But I do love their closeness, and unlike in other series where the annoying character is bullied by the protagonist in a roundabout way, the same cannot be said here, and I absolutely fucking adore that. The story is super engaging, and if you like 2000s shoujo romance, I would definitely recommend 100%. It is a good, short, light-hearted series, and you're gonna see me later in this video realize that I fucking left it off this list. And on to the last book of the day. This one also did not get a review. That is because this came plastic wrapped. This is once again a story that I didn't realize until I was at the checkout that it was plastic wrapped. Yes, this does have smut in it. Literally, when you open the fucking book, the character is touching himself. This got an 8 out of 10 for me. This is based off of a webtoon. This is like a mafia style webtoon and it's gay. Pretty much he is actually in love with somebody, but that somebody doesn't love him back. He works at a convenience store that is frequented by gangsters, criminals, that sort of stuff, and he takes the night shift, and he's also a uni student at the same time. So by the end of the story, you can't really see him, but this gangster behind him, they sort of end up as a maybe kind of thing. Yes, there is smut in this. Usually I don't like smut in BL. It worked here. It worked here. I don't mind it too bad when it's a webtoon, or when it starts off as a webtoon, which this one clearly did. What's it called? I probably will be picking up the second volume of this just because I think it's fun. It's a little bit of fun. And yeah, this one is a BL as well. I gave this an 8 out of 10. It just made my heart pitter patter. I thought it was very cute. And yes, there was spicy scenes in it. I don't know. Is it your thing or is it not? I don't know. I can't tell. That being said, let's get into June anime. Now, despite my wonderful cosplay of the wonderful Yori from the wonderful Whisper Me a Love song, I didn't end up watching the anime this month. July is my month. So yeah, I didn't really watch any anime in June other than the Haikyuu movie, which I've already given my thoughts on that, and the review will be in the iCloud? In the iCard somewhere up there, I think. But other than that, this month I was mainly focusing on Whisper Me a Love Song in terms of cosplay, anime, that sort of stuff. But with me not actually watching anime, I only have June manga. So, let's just jump into it. I have a numerous amount of manga, both physically and via the Viz Media app. Again, I am not sponsored if I haven't said that already. I'm just really mad that I didn't find it sooner. So, starting off, I picked this up when I was randomly buying a bunch of manga for an end of financial year sale for Booktopia. This being the whole of humanity has gone Yuri except for me. Yes, this wasn't in my gay manga video for this year, solely because none of I think the exception was volume 7 of Whisper Me a Love Song, but that's because none of the gay books I have read since I recorded that video made it in, because I recorded it in May. Anyway, the whole of humanity has gone Yuri except for me. This is a sci-fi Yuri romance. It is also to some extent an isekai. Basically, our protagonist of Marika, who is this character right here, used to live in a heteronormative world where men and boys exist, only for her to be transported into a world where only women exist, and all men died out about 100 years ago, due to a pathogen that only affected men. Weirdly, this is not the first time I have heard this concept. There is a, I believe, Thai romance that is like the romance version of Squid Game on Netflix that I have watched that has the exact same concept, where there was a pathogen that wiped out most men on planet Earth, and now 99% of the occupants of planet Earth are women. And it's not often that you get a romance story that has a pathogen that just kills out the male population. But it's weird that it's happened twice, and what do the romance creatives know that we don't know? Marika finds a girl named Lily, who is this blonde girl right here, and Marika tells Lily her story. Lily is extremely freaked out and thinks Marika is crazy, but Marika somehow manages to get Lily to agree as long as Marika goes out with Lily. What? So this book, as I said, was a spur of the moment book that I bought in the Booktopia end of financial year sales. And when I bought it, I was not expecting the sci-fi elements. Rather, I thought it would be more like fantasy, similar to like I was reincarnated into a slime. And I thought it generally would be more romantic than it ended up being. I felt like it was the start of a long-standing series rather than a one-shot, because that is what this is. It is a one-shot, as especially when they just kept dragging new characters in towards the very end of the story. I liked the mystery element of the story enough, and I liked that Marika did end up coming back in the end of the story. I just wish there was generally more romance and more character development in Lily and Marika as characters. Side characters somehow got a lot more character development than our main two characters, with Lily being like cool-headed on the outside but flustered as shit on the inside, like a very tsundere type character, whereas Marika is just confused the entire time, and then suddenly she's actually from this world and has a body double in the heteronormative world, and she's been stuck in the wrong world. It's really fucking weird. And the last couple of chapters were also just very show don't tell, which I tend to hate in manga. It is a visual fucking medium. On top of that, there were plot points that just didn't make sense, like how was Marika going to come back? How was she going to leave? Because surely that'd mean that the other Marika would end up coming back. Some parts just did not feel planned out, and there isn't a whole lot of romance in the book like I thought there would be. It's cool if you want a gay sci-fi, I guess, but not so much if you want romance. It's not my style, and it's certainly, as compared to other Yuri that I've read, isn't great. I gave it a 5 out of 10. There was some elements that I thought was cute, but the romance was severely lacking for this weird sci-fi plot that just, like, I felt could have been sidelined, to be 100% honest. And yeah, this felt very similar to that one horror manga that was shonen horror, and it was the guy who was the last guy on planet Earth, and then he just got fucking superpowers, and I just stopped reading it because he just was like, it was so much talking. Go on there. Do your gay shit that is a little bit problematic up there. Stay. Now, speaking of reading shit on Viz Media, The Cats of the Louvre. So, I would give a trigger warning, there is animal death and gore. This is a surrealist novel about the hidden stories of the Louvre, the cats and the Night Keeper, and how they are all connected by the voices in the paintings in this historic museum. The manga is very interesting personally, as it follows two intertwined plot points. One of cats, how they love to bask in the light of the full moon, and how they must hide in the roofs of the attics of the Louvre to avoid detection. And then is the Night Keeper, and how his sister is trapped in one of the speaking paintings, and how a small little white cat called Snowbebe is also called into the paintings by them. I surprisingly really liked this story, and I read it on a whim and was enthralled with how weirdly cute it was. To me, this has the same or similar vibe to Invitation from a Crab, which I did also like, but I liked this one more because it has cute cats. Anyway, I will say, if you do like cute cats, I also maybe give it a steer away because there is a cat dying in this. Anyway, I really surprisingly like stories set in France, but that might just be nostalgia or just a familial thing with liking Paris and the aesthetics of Le Parisien, because my dad liked Paris, my nana liked Paris, all that sort of stuff, so but something this story does well is connecting its A plot and its B plot, where the Night Keeper describes what happened to his sister is the things that are currently actually happening to Snowbebe. Then is the dynamics with like the cats, the weird spider, even the way the cats are drawn between anthropomorphic and anatomically correct. I honestly really like the way that they're portrayed, and it's something that you don't often see in manga, where you see like the cats as cats, but then as these anthropomorphic creatures that are representations. The movie that I'm thinking that has something similar to this is Cats. Oh, sorry, the fucking stage play. The movie, no. But I feel like it's something similar to the stage play Cats, which is a bit strange. A bit of a strange connection in my head there. Anyway, I'm really liking reading surrealist and whimsical stories recently, especially in manga. I gave this a solid 8 out of 10. It is a bit boring to start off with, but is a pretty good short story. Next is, I showed this in the volume 3 of my gay recommendations. I promise next year I will have so many more. That's why I fucking picked up that shit. So we have Whisper Me a Love Song volume 7, and oh my god. So this volume is both cute and sad. The first chapter was fully gay fluff, and I am so here for it. I love it so much. I adore it. But the second half of the entire volume is pretty sad and made me realize my mistake on who Shiho was rivaling against in the previous volume. Now, in the previous volume, I thought that Shiho, which is the girl who's the like leader of Lorelei, I thought she was versing Aki. That's why I thought their dynamic was like 1-to-1. I thought Aki was Shiho's like rival. I was completely incorrect, and the person who actually is dead. So their name is Amasawa. They are the sister of one of the bandmates of Lorelei that isn't Shiho, and I do really also appreciate the translators actually physically changing the spelling of Lorelei, because the pronunciation, how it was in other volumes, was a little bit strange. As I was saying, this character here, this one is dead. She was who Shiho was versing, but she looks so similar to Aki in some panels that I really thought it was Aki. That's not the case. There's a different subplot with Aki. Yeah, also with this character, I didn't expect the dead thing, but it adds a lot more depth to Shiho, and I really like it, as well as depth to Lorelei. This also makes me a little iffy on my ship between the Baker Girl and Amasawa's sister. There are so many names to remember in this manga that I can't remember them at the moment, but it's pretty much this girl's sister, who is the tallest in the band, and the Baker Girl, who is the first member of Lorelei that Himari meets, the one that's in the cooking club, or they're all in the cooking club, but the one that specifically is in the cooking club with Himari. Because I shipped Amasawa's sister and the Baker Girl because I thought they were in a relationship, but it turns out the Baker Girl was in love with this girl, and potentially they were in a relationship, but now her sister is potentially in a relationship with her potentially ex-girlfriend. I don't understand that part. Maybe I misunderstood the connection. I don't know, but that whole threw me a bit. I still like her sister with the Baker Girl. I think it's really cute, but just her existence confused so many things for me. I also love that in this story, Yori is over her jealousy. I love Yori so much. No shit, Sherlock. I gave this an 8 out of 10. So much happened, and too much happened in this little book. We will be talking about volume 8 at the end of this video. Next, we move into some romance. Once again, I read this on Viz, with Ion, or ION. This is made by the same creator as the Gentleman's Alliance Cross, which I have been told by Mia is batshit, so I braced myself for complete fucking chaos. when starting this short story. There's only 6 chapters to this story, so you know I spent a little bit of time when I shouldn't have been reading this. So, completely expected this to be batshit, only to be very pleasantly surprised on how cute, surprisingly, this novel is. Eon is the story of a girl named Eon, who has supernatural powers all thanks to a substance created by her super cute crush Mikado. The story explores Eon's luck in love, trying to be seen as a woman by the nerdy Mikado, and not just his super cute psychic hero. I really did like the cuteness of the romance in this sort of one-shot, but as it is shoujo of the early 2000s, it had to also be dramatic, with a little bit of miscommunication as well as a creepy student council prez creeping on Eon. Weirdly, I felt like I had actually read this story before, but I don't necessarily recall where, and it might just be because the story is just relatively generic, minus the superpowers, but I could be thinking of either Gabakawa or, what was the other one? Fucking continuing on with this, I have an anthology series now. I started a read and review series that I was gonna use for anthologies, which that has gone to the wind, obviously, since I haven't reviewed Liminal Zone in it, and I don't intend to do Liminal Zone as part of the read and review, but I will do it for this one. So I will be very, very brief on Came the Mirror and Other Stories. This is a short story collection by Rumiko Takahashi with numerous horror themed stories, and I will say themed because they're not all horror, some are slice of life, some are romance, all that sort of stuff, but they all have very horror themed-esque appeals to them. Some of them have gore, some of them have spooky themes, and in total we have 6 stories. Came the Mirror, Revenge Doll, The Star with a Thousand Faces, Little Flower, With Cat, and My Sweet Sunday. My Sweet Sunday is an autobiographical one-shot from Rumiko Takahashi and Mitsuru Adachi. I'm not the biggest fan of these autobiographies in many anthologies, so I'm personally gonna leave it unrated and not apply it to the actual short story collection, but I did find it interesting finding out about the history of these 2 mangakas and really putting into context how important some older mangakas such as Kazuo Ume's was to some of my favorite mangakas today. The other stories I intend on doing, as I said, a read and review on, but in essence my favorite probably was With Cat, not for its horror per se, but more so for its romance elements. Came the Mirror is best horror-wise, psychologically, and has some gore aspects. The Star with a Thousand Faces was the weakest story, Little Flower was very captivating, and Revenge Doll has an essence very similar to that of a chapter of Urusei Yatsura. Overall, the story collection got 6 out of 10 for My Sweet Sunday and The Star with a Thousand Faces. I would recommend this if you are a Rumiko Takahashi fan, as it was fun but not 100% what I wanted nor expected after Came the Mirror set the tone for what I thought the collection could be. Now, moving on from that, we have She and Her Cat. Now, this came from the likes of Makoto Shinkai, the very same Makoto Shinkai who directed Suzume and Your Name, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but this is a slice of life that I actually do like. I do not like the cat referring to his owner as his partner, but I get that he loves her. This is a very sweet slice of life about this cat observing his owner and her ups and downs in life, how she feels she's not enough, and how everyone else is possibly getting ahead of her, and her not being sure what that means. This story was honestly very wholesome, and I love the connections of side character dialogue to Miyu's life, and then the cat calling Miyu the most wonderful person in the world, really going to show that no matter how you feel about yourself, there's always someone who thinks you are the most amazing person and sees you as you. Personally, I thought this was really nice, and I thought it was a great light read on my way to work. I actually bought this one day when I was feeling down at work, and I was like, this looks small and this looks cute, and it's got a little cute cat. This is me and my cat. It's not me and my cat. It's not me and my cat. But generally, I liked it a lot. I read this in about, I want to say about 30 minutes. And I really liked it a lot. So I gave it a 7.5 out of 10. The cat thing was a little bit weird. Overall, loved it. Now we get to talk about Whisper Me a Love Song again. Now this was a last minute entry as I literally just finished this today and it is currently the 2nd of July. But I got this during Pride Month when I had purchased, you can't see them, but I purchased the first 2 volumes of The Guy She Liked Wasn't a Guy at All. However, it's in Japanese, so I can't currently read it. But I bought this from Critical Hit because I did not realize that it had come out just yet, even though it apparently released like 2 months ago. Hasn't arrived in Australia for a little bit. First of all, men exist in this series. There is literally a singular panel with 2 male characters on it, and it confirmed that they exist in this series. But continuing off of my last review of Volume 7, now I snuck this one in mainly because there is an unconfirmed release date for the English translation of Volume 9, so I don't know when the fuck that's coming out, and based on when this was released compared to when its Japanese counterpart was released, Volume 9 could be coming in about 5 to 7 months. So, I decided I would just put this with like Volume 7 and just like move on to other manga for now. At least I can say is hopefully with the production of the anime, it's boosting sales and interest in the West. And we get the volume sooner rather than later because oh my god, I love this volume. I love that I love the little date chapter between Yori and Himari. With Himari being the one that's jealous this time. I was literally just saying, I'm so glad Yori's not jealous. Now Himari's jealous. Yori in the suit is everything and I love it. I also love the tone that this is taken towards Shiho and Aki, and now Aki's sister is also potentially getting a love interest and Shiho confessed, and it's so good. It's so fucking good, and I can't believe I have to wait for Volume 9. I don't want to wait for Volume 9. I want Volume 9. Oh my god. Who knows? Maybe I can finally start getting back into collecting One Dance now, because one of my favorite books, I don't know when the next volume is coming. But yeah, that is all of my manga, and only manga, for fucking May and June of 2024. I hope you guys enjoyed this video to whatever extent you could. And what recommendations do you have for me for next time for my next week wrap up other than the massive fucking stack of books that I currently have? What series should I continue next? Because for me, I think it should be One Dance. That being said, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.